It often takes a long time to realise whether you're teaching effectively. It's possible to be impressive, even theatrical, but not memorable. You need to learn how to teach so that your students will remember your most important points, ideally years later. You need to learn to think, before a course even begins, what you want the students to know by the time it's ended. You need to ask yourself questions like this. What do I want these students to remember from this course 5 years from now? What are the most important things? That'll have a clarifying effect because it'll help you to worry less about the fine details and more about the really important issues. Well, for 5 years, I was the director of Emory's Centre for Teaching and Curriculum. I'd always been eager to improve my teaching. And since college teachers tend not to have any formal training and to develop styles of their own ad hoc, I always used to go along to workshops at the CTC, the Centre for Teaching and Curriculum. And they would be on subjects like how to improve the quality of discussion classes. How do you work with students writing? How do you get them to be more attentive to questions of rhetoric and grammar and composition and structure? How do you keep authority in the classroom? How do you deal with the foreign students who've got a very, very good reading ability in English, but actually aren't capable of joining in the conversations fluently, or have cultural traditions which teach them that it's actually impolite to join in, even though that's exactly what you want them to be able to do? How do you deal with cheating and plagiarism, one of the most aggravating aspects of college life? Well, anyway, I went to all these workshops and was constantly learning from them and constantly exchanging ideas with other, mainly young teachers who'd got good ideas about how to do with it, or who were puzzled and recognised that they were puzzled. Anyway, I must have gone once too often because eventually the dean of the college asked me to take over the directorship of the centre, which I then did for a very enjoyable 5-year term. I carried on running a wide array of workshops every week for faculty members and graduate student teaching assistants. But it also gave me the opportunity to watch a wide variety of my colleagues teaching. We had a confidential mentoring program whereby faculty members who wanted help could contact the centre and get a list of mentors and then speak with them confidentially to get them to visit their classes. I became one of these confidential mentors and would often go to other faculty members' classes, usually people who were struggling in some way, watch them teaching, and then give them advice on how they might overcome the problems they were encountering. I'll never forget one experience in this respect when I went to a Chinese language class. The entire class was taught in Chinese. And the result was that I didn't understand a single word spoken over the whole hour. And yet, I was able to see at once what the professor was doing well and what the professor was doing poorly. Because the gestures, the requirements made of other students, the body language, the expectations of the students, all those came in clearly just through how people moved and how they spoke, even though I didn't know what they were saying. I also visited a music professor and was astonished by how much he could communicate just by waving his arms. This was a conducting class, and I've never had a more vivid impression of the power of non-verbal communication than I had watching him. The sheer act of moving up onto his toes caused the musicians to play in slightly different ways, and he had a vivid vocabulary of unspoken language, unspoken gestures. Nobody learned more from these events and experiences than I did, even though ostensibly I was the person dispensing advice.